Hello, and welcome back to another draft player analysis video. Today, I'll be going over A'Shawn Robinson, defensive tackle, Bama. A'Shawn Robinson, defensive tackle, Alabama, 6'4", 307 pounds. Was one of the few players that actually started multiple years, more than at least 2 at Bama. Bama usually steers away from starting freshmen and sophomores. He started every single year he was on the team, which is pretty impressive with how Bama is known for its, quality talent and everything. So, I think that's pretty impressive, especially, again, with all the talent that Bama comes out of Alabama. So, my ass, dude, Darren McFadden is not that good. So, some accolades. He was a first-team All-American in 2015 and was an Outland Trophy finalist, meaning he was a finalist for the Defensive Lineman Award, or Best Defensive Lineman Award. So, let's get into his, let's just get to career stats. Starting with tackles. 133 career tackles. 22 tackles for a loss. 28, 22. Damn, I'm an idiot. I think it's 22. 9 sacks and 1 forced fumble. It's third down coming up. For a guy who started, I believe, 4 years, it's not the greatest stat line, but it's much better than someone like Robert Kimdicht, who had a very subpar career, but I believe has much more talent. I think he can have he has a much higher ceiling than Robinson, but Robinson currently has a much higher floor. So, although I think Kimdicht is a more athletic overall player, I think that Robinson has much more, he has much more going for him right now. So, those things being said, let's get into the pros and cons, starting with his pros. First things first, he's surprisingly athletic for being 300-plus pounds and 6'4". He is basically the ideal size for a defensive tackle, in my opinion. 6'4", about 300 pounds. I think that's ideal size for a D tackle, and he has much better speed and agility than you would expect from a man of his size. So I think that's a huge, driving factor for teams that are looking at him, is that he's actually much more athletic than you would expect. Next, his strength. Obviously, with him being as big as he is, if he wasn't strong, I wouldn't even be talking about him. But, of course, he has very good strength. He's overall just a very complete defensive tackle in my book. But I think that what you see is what you get with him, which is why I have him ranked below Kimdicht. So, but again, great strength. He can bull rush pretty much anyone he wants, and he's already very strong, so he can step in and do what he does in the NFL day one. I don't think there's gonna have to be that little down period of him having to, put on some strength, because I think he already has that strength to be a consistent, solid starter in the NFL. Next, his run defense. He is, although coming from his size, you may assume him to be kind of a Vince Wilfork type guy, where he's going to, kind of hold up in a gap and just, take that area completely out of the equation. But he's not. He can shed a blocker, he can rip through a guy, and can still make, a play in the backfield, because he has the pursuit speed and the overall athleticism to make a play in the backfield if given the opportunities.
feel good about what you're doing. It loosens up the offensive play caller, and there's nothing
And
like dictating.
next, he's versatile. I've seen a lot of, analysts say that they believe he is extremely versatile and can definitely play more than just defensive tackle, even nose tackle. But although I think he is versatile, and, I think he could play the run and the pass, I think that you can line him up in different positions, but I don't think you could start him at different positions. But because of how athletic he is for his size, he can definitely play those other positions. But start, I don't think so. Especially not defensive end.
And we've reached the 2-minute warning.
I think you can put him at snaps at defensive end.
Ready to snap the football.
He can be a great run stuffer off the edge for, once in a while packages. But that being said, let's get into the cons. First things first is his pass rushing. Although he is an okay pass rusher, he needs to improve it to be a more consistent pass rusher. To be an overall just better pass rusher in general, and he just needs to work on, ripping through guys properly and all those things. But again, that's something that can be improved on. And my second con and my last con for him, his consistency. I think overall, although he has all the natural talent that you want in a big defensive tackle or even a nose tackle, depending on how you're going to play him, I think that his consistency is a bit of concern, as he can have an amazing game one week and then be a complete non-factor the next week. So that's something you have to be, conscious of, I think, or cautious of. No, you have to be cautious, not conscious, like dumb. You have to be cautious of how his inconsistency plays into him as a whole package, as he did have a couple games where, he'd be absolutely fantastic, and then he would be a complete non-factor. So again, those are things you have to consider when, evaluating him. But overall, I think he is a very, very good defensive tackle prospect. Oh, come on, Cousins, you son of a bitch. But again, overall, I think he is a very good prospect. The only reason I have him ranked below Kim Deach is because Kim Deach, I think, has a higher, potential. I think Kim Deach was, a number 1 D tackle recruit. I think Ashawn Robinson was a top 10, so I guess. But I think Kim Deach has more natural talent right now. I think he can be a much more athletic guy, and he can definitely have a much better, he can also, I think Kim Deach can start at multiple positions, but I think he's best suited at D tackle. Well, I think that although Ashawn Robinson can play those positions, I don't think he'd be able to start a whole game at defensive end, let's say. Although I think Kim Deach can be much more molded to how you want him to play. I think with Robinson, you get what you see, and what you see is a big, gap-stuffing defensive tackle who can also make plays in the pass game and run game in the backfield. Come on, dude, how's that not pass interference? He was all over him. But that being said, I have Ashawn Robinson ranked as a mid to late first-round prospect. And although I can actually see him maybe going to Baltimore at the 6th pick, I doubt it. And I think there will be better prospects overall available right there. But if whoever Baltimore doesn't fall in love with isn't there, then I think I can definitely see him going at 6, but I doubt it. So the first team I have of interest is New Orleans. I think New Orleans is definitely in the running for someone on the defensive line. Jordan Cameron, or Cameron Jordan. I think it's Jordan Cameron on them. I think that he is a good defensive end, but I think they need one more, big name player on that side of the ball. on that defensive line, excuse me. But
Good job that time by the quarterback.
overall, I think that right now they should probably focus
Throwing the
on
football, not running. Slide before you take the
getting
hit.
Drew Brees, making Drew Brees back to the player he was 2 years ago. He had maybe one of his worst seasons as a Saint last year, and even then it was a pretty solid season. I think he still had like 4,000 some yards.
Redskins have been
But I think you have to get Drew Brees back to the player he was 2 years ago, and I think they should probably start by getting him
second and short.
a new number 1 wide receiver now that Marquise Colston is gone. Next is Detroit. I can definitely see Detroit taking him. Again, I think that if Detroit was going to take him over Kim Dietz, I wouldn't be very surprised.
Now your offense has 3
I just said that because I think Detroit's going to go for the guy who can be more versatile and overall talented. But again, Robinson has all the natural talent you want as a defensive tackle.
Getting open, and that's a reason why.
Absolutely.
So, if Detroit takes him over Kim Dietz, I wouldn't be surprised. So,
you need to find ways to get the
that's
football
really
to
it.
him.
Plus, young guy can replace Haloti Nada in a year, maybe 2, as Nada starts to get to that point in his career where he is. He's starting to be going on a downswing. Next is Buffalo. I think that, I can't remember if Rex Ryan runs a 4-3. If he does, him and Marcel Darius are somewhat similar players in my mind, as him and Darius can be an imposing force on the interior. If not, you get an amazing rotational D tackle who can make life a living hell for defensive linemen or offensive linemen, as you rotate those 2 in every couple plays or so. So, if Buffalo runs a 3-4, they could still take this guy and rotate him. My finger slipped. Son of a whore. Next is the Jets. With the loss of Damon Harris, they need a big, imposing guy on the interior. And although I think they will take a guy like that, I think that they have a couple bigger issues on the defensive side of the ball. In the linebacking core and on offense, they still have a couple issues with, the offensive line now that the Brickshot Ferguson is gone. So, although I think that Damon Harris needs to be replaced by someone, I think that they can do that in maybe the second, maybe even third round.
We'll find out here in a second.
Next is Washington. With the loss of Terrence Knighton, they need to find a big guy on the interior. And I think that he is definitely, Ashawn Robinson is definitely the type of player you want on the interior. And I think that he can develop into a very good pass rusher if given some time. But I think he's already, a big run-stuffing guy who can take up 1 or 2 blockers and kind of just completely take a one hole for the running back out of the equation. Next is Cincinnati. Cincinnati runs a 3-4, I believe. So I do think that he can definitely play nose tackle. So I don't know what just happened there, but I'm not going to argue with it. But, again, Cincinnati needs a nose tackle. I can't remember who their starting nose tackle is right now, but they need a big guy at the point of attack. I think that Ashawn Robinson can step in and be that guy. Again, big guy, powerful guy, who can develop into a solid pass rusher on the interior. Can definitely be that guy one day. Next to Seattle, with the loss of Brandon Maben, they need a guy on the interior that they can, start to build their defense around a little bit more. And I think that Ashawn Robinson can be that guy.
That's a timeout call.
And just take the spot left by Maven. I don't know why I do that. I lead myself on to continue my sentence, but I know I'm not going to. Next is Kansas City. Again, if Kansas City runs a 4-3, then they can take a extremely good D tackle line up with Dante Repo, who is really an athletic animal at D tackle. You know, he's very good. And if not, then this pick is basically, you know, dumb on my part because I didn't realize they run a 3-4. But I think they do run a 4-3. If they don't, whatever. But again, they can find a guy to line up with Dante Repo, and those two can make lives for interior linemen as hell. So, last team I have is the Denver Broncos. I think Denver needs to draft something on the defensive line with the loss of Malik Jackson. And although I believe Malik Jackson was actually a defensive end, they can definitely find a guy who can still be the kind of run stuffer that Malik Jackson was. And although Malik Jackson was also a much better pass rusher than people gave him credit for, I believe, they really need to find a guy to fill that role. Whether it be Robinson, Noah Spence, you know, God, I can't think of any other defensive ends right now off the top of my head. But you know what I'm trying to say. But overall, A'Shawn Robinson is an extremely good defensive tackle. And again, the only reason I have him falling past Kim Dietz is because of Kim Dietz's potential to be an amazing player on the defensive line at defensive tackle and maybe even defensive end. I think he is more versatile than A'Shawn Robinson, but Robinson does have his versatility. So, this being said, I believe with the 21st overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins will select A'Shawn Robinson. I know my buddy's a Redskins fan, and he was kind of pissed when he heard that, you know, Terrence Knighton was out the door to save some money. So they need to find a guy on the interior that can give that same kind of, you know, push up front, even in the run game or wherever. They just need that kind of guy. And I think A'Shawn Robinson can be a guy who could push the pocket with his power and eventually develop into a good pass rushing guy. And he's already very good in the run game. He has great pursuit speed. You know, his closing speed is pretty solid for a man of his size. So again, I think he'd be a great fit in Washington. He'd be a day one starter. And overall, just a great pick for them to replace a guy that was pretty much beloved by a lot of teammates or a lot of Redskins fans. So that was my A'Shawn Robinson predictions, ideas, you know, analysis. So coming up next will be Andrew Billings, and then after Billings will be the start of my linebackers. I said I was going to do my linebackers earlier than I did. Forgot about defensive tackles. So on Monday, Tuesday should probably be Miles Jack, and I think I have 11 days left till the draft, so I have enough time to do 5 and 5 for defensive backs and linebackers. So that should be interesting, but I'm excited to do Miles Jack. I might not even do 5 outs or linebackers, to be honest. Oh my God, Romo glitched out. Oh my God, that's hilarious. The fucking game glitched him out. Oh my God.
Huge play coming up down near the goal line. Scans the field. Williams
all right, so let's get this last 10 seconds here.
Jim, I just want to say this to the quarterback. It's third and goal. If the play's not there,
God, this game is so ridiculous.
Force the action.
Third and goal to go from the 2. All the way home, just in time, a late touchdown.
It is so disappointing when you're down near the goal line and you don't score. Well, the offense doesn't have to know that disappointment this time. Good job, good play call, and a beautiful throw by the quarterback for the touchdown.
All right, so as long as they don't get the onside kick, I'm okay.
The Cowboys need a score, so they're going to be going with an onside
Okay, there we
kick.
go. I pressed the wrong button.
The kicking team fails to recover.
All right.
Kick, and that
So,
just about
for now, this is J-Wack.
Job there. You know, look, the NFL has changed the rules.
Signing
over the year.
off.
You really only get one chance